Hey guys, welcome to today's video. We're going to be talking about the Chiefs versus Cardinals preseason game. We're going to be talking about it and we're going to be breaking it down. Before we get started, please drop a quick like and sub on today's video. That would really help my channel grow. I'd really appreciate that. And with that said, I hope you enjoyed the video and let's dive right into it. So I don't really care who won or lost this game. Really doesn't matter to me. And to be honest, I don't really care about, the second stringers and the third stringers. I really want to talk about what I saw from the starters in that first half for this Chiefs and Cardinals team. And that's really what we're going to focus on today. So let's start with the Chiefs. Let's start with Patrick Mahomes, too. Mahomes, he looked good at times, but overall, this was not his strongest game. Threw an interception, didn't throw a touchdown, just looked inaccurate too. He looked a little bit off tempo, off timing, and he was trying to really feed that ball to Mecole Hardman a lot. Couldn't really get it there, so that was just something that was off for him. He was just off today, and that's okay, right? He wasn't going to play the whole game. That was, something that you don't really see starting quarterbacks play entire games of the preseason. That never happens. But he got a quarter and a half, and he just didn't really play well in it. Threw an interception late in that in his start. Seemed like he wanted to make something happen, but overall, just the timing was off. But at the end of the day, I wouldn't worry. It's still Mahomes. You got to remember, Mahomes is still the best quarterback in the league. Obviously Aaron Rodgers won MVP last year, but Mahomes is still the best quarterback in the league, and he's going to make the magic happen this year, okay? Obviously, remember that we didn't really see Tyreek Hill in that first half. Actually, we didn't see Tyreek Hill in that first half, and we didn't see Clyde Edwards Helaire, two of the Chiefs' big-time starters on that offense. So, overall, Mahomes, one, didn't have all his weapons, and number two, he just looked a little bit off tempo, which is, it's fine. And I'm sure if he was playing the rest of the game, he would have found his rhythm back in the second half. So overall, not the best game from Mahomes, but nothing to really worry about. Running back-wise, obviously, we didn't really see Clyde Edwards Helaire. The guys we did see were, Darrell Williams, that we saw a lot from last year. We didn't really see him in the run game too much. He wasn't really productive at all, got a few carries. But overall, he's probably the main third down running back for this Chiefs team. Expect for him to be the real third down running back for this Chiefs team, just because he's a guy that they used a lot last year as a big-time pass protector. We saw a little bit of Jerick McKinnon. After a couple good seasons a few years ago, he's been plagued with injuries and has not been able to find any success due to those injuries. But we saw him a little bit running the football today, catching the football out of the backfield. And it looks like the Chiefs are pretty deep at running back behind Clyde Edwards Helaire, who's the legit starter, and he's the legit number one. Also, Darwin Thompson got some running back time. I thought he looked really good, looked fast, looked quick, showed his athleticism on an intended hurdle at one point, but he showed his speed and his acceleration. Really good job from him. And then, the wide receivers, Mecole Hardman ended up having a touchdown. That was from Chad Henne, not from Patrick Mahomes. As I said, he looked off with Patrick Mahomes. But, he's fast, and this entire Chiefs offensive players and all their wide receivers are really fast. But it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, the Chiefs, top 3, top 4 receivers are pretty much set. Obviously, it's going to be Tyreek Hill. Obviously, you're going to see Mecole Hardman. Obviously, you're going to see Demarcus Robinson. You're probably going to see Byron Pringle. But after them, they picked up some guys in the draft. So it'll be interesting to see how those guys end up playing, in the next preseason game, as well as through training camp, to see who gets that last spot. Probably, and there's probably only like 1 or 2 spots left at the wide receiver position for this Chiefs team. Offensive line wise, this offensive line did a really good job, I thought, overall. Especially in pass protection, we did see a few times where Mahomes or Chad Henne got really flustered and got a lot of pressure on their face. But overall, I thought this offensive line played pretty well, and they're going to be pretty good in pass protection. Guys like Joe Thuney, guys like Orlando Brown. These are guys that can really be dominant pass protectors, and I thought that they did a good job at times in the run game too. Overall, they weren't great, offensive line-wise today, but they did the job, and they got the job done. I think, pass protection and run blocking, they both could have done a better job in there. But overall, I thought, after a few sloppy plays in the first half, I think they cleaned things up for those starters. We saw a little bit of Travis Kelce, not really a big day for him. But once again, Mahomes looked off. Kelsey wasn't really involved. So I'm sure that the Chiefs and Andy Reid will really work on that moving forward. Defensively, the one big thing that I think really stood out for me on the defense side of the football is Chris Jones. And we've seen Chris Jones before, and we know he's a dominant player. And there's a reason he's having a massive contract. And he's on a massive contract. But Chris Jones, he lost a little bit of lost a little bit of weight this offseason. He's about 15 pounds lighter, and they were using him almost as a defensive end. They lined him up at defensive end today. He ended up getting a sack on Kyler Murray. So, I mean, yeah, we already know he's big and he's physical and he gets the football and he's one of the best defensive players in the league. He's one of the premier defensive talents in the league. But we really saw, his speed and his acceleration off the edge too, which is something that Steve Spagnuolo has been worried about through training camp. How can we get pressure off the edge? And that's something that the Chiefs have struggled with in recent years. They haven't been able to get the same pressure off the edge as they have from, the defensive tackle position. Obviously, Chris Jones gets sacks from the defensive tackle position, but if you can get a guy like Chris Jones who can also be productive outside defensive end, then that's really going to be scary. Also, Juan Thornhill had a really nice interception at the end of the first half. Good to see him get involved. But once again, not all the starters were playing defensively for them. We didn't see Tyrann Mathieu. So at the end of the day, I thought this was a pretty good outing for the starters for the Chiefs. Obviously, Mahomes didn't have his best day. Kelsey didn't have his best day. Mecole Hardman looked a little bit off, but the offensive line played solidly. Chris Jones played pretty solidly. So overall, solid day for those Chiefs starters. Not great, and I'm sure they're going to be definitely working on things next week. For the Cardinals, though, I mean, this Cardinals offense was absolutely terrible. Those starters could not get anything going. We saw James Conner. We saw a little bit of Chase Edmonds. Neither of those guys really accomplished anything. The offense, I think, started with three and outs to start the game. Kyler Murray looked off. Obviously, DeAndre Hopkins didn't play. They're not really going to play their big-time players. We saw a little bit of A.J. Green. Christian Kirk dropped the ball. It wasn't really until Colt McCoy got into the game where we started seeing a little bit of offense for this Cardinals team. But overall, with Kyler Murray, I think this was just a tough day for those starting quarterbacks. We didn't really see Mahomes play well. We didn't see Kyler Murray play well. So a little bit unfortunate, turning on the TV and seeing two of the top quarterbacks in the NFL not really perform in a quarter and a half. But overall, once again, I think that this offense for the Cardinals is all about how can they, get Kyler Murray to cook, right? And if that means, letting him run the ball, allowing him to throw the ball deep downfield, it's all these different strategies and all these ways for Cliff Kingsbury to, let him cook. In today's game, he wasn't cooking. He just looked off tempo, looked out of rhythm. The Chiefs defense was good for their starters. Obviously, there was a lot of pressure in Kyler Murray's face. And DJ Humphries got absolutely killed by Chris Jones, as I already talked about earlier. I think we'll see next week maybe and throughout the rest of training camp, how can Kyler Murray bounce back from this? How can some of the other guys get back from this? Another thing I want to talk about for this Cardinals offense is, the running back situation for them. They've got two solid running backs in Chase Edmonds and James Conner. We saw a little bit of both of them, but they didn't really get anything going. So how can they get them involved? It's really just building momentum, and I think today was just a tough outing for this Cardinals offense. Defensively, though, there's one guy that really stood out for me, and that is Zaven Collins. We saw a lot of him in that first quarter. He was all over the football. And remember, he was that first-round pick for this Cardinals team, and he's a big guy. I mean, he's really big. He's 6'4", 250 plus. He can get to the quarterback a little bit, but most importantly, he's a run stopper, and we saw that a lot in the first half. And I think that he's going to be a very big, dominant player. Line him up next to J.J. Watt. Line him with other of those linebackers, guys like Isaiah Simmons, as well as of course, their big-time linebacker. Why is he slipping my name? The guy who gets all the sacks in Arizona. Wow, that's actually really bad that I'm forgetting his name. But anyway, Zavin Collins, I really, really like what he brings to Chandler Jones. There we go. Chandler Jones, Zavin Collins, J.J. Watt. Those are big sack guys right there. And I think Zavin Collins, just the force that he brings, getting to the football, he's downhill, and he looked really dominant in today's game, slipping blockers and everything. And I thought that his first quarter plus was really, really solid, played really, really well. So that's pretty much it for this analysis. I really want to talk about the starters at the end of the day, because I think that's what's most important. At the end of the day, Mahomes, Kyler Murray, tough days for them. Some defensive stars in Chris Jones and Zaven Collins, I thought played really well. But you know what? It's still preseason, and I think that at the end of the day, both these teams will be really successful this season. They're two very talented rosters, and I would be kind of surprised if they both didn't make the playoffs. I think the Cardinals, it'll be a little bit tougher for them. Obviously, the Chiefs are more or less surefire playoff contenders. For the Cardinals, it's a little bit harder because they're division, but at the end of the day, they're definitely in the thick of that playoff hunt, I think, when it comes time for the regular season.
And with that said, that's pretty much going to end the video for today. Did you agree with my analysis? Why or why not? Leave your comments and thoughts in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. Also, if you're new around here, please drop a like and a sub on today's video. I'd really appreciate that. And with that said, I hope you enjoyed the video. And until next time, see ya.